Hello, and welcome to another brand new episode of Between Two Berms, the Omaha Storm Chasers podcast where we discuss things. I am your host, Scott Pop, joined by my gregarious co-host, Andrew Asbury.
How are you now?
Good, and you?
Not so bad.
We did it.
For those of you who don't know, from one of our favorite shows, Letterkenny, a Canadian comedy. It's for a select group of audience. I wouldn't suggest it for everybody.
I've also only seen 2 episodes, so I would not say it's one of my favorite shows, but it certainly is funny.
It's one of your favorites. It's fine.
Okay. So this episode, we have a treat for you guys. If you like photography, or the Storm Chasers, or the Royals, or listening to our beautiful voices, we have some content producers on.
Yeah, we had Minda Haas Kuhlmann on. She is our photographer here at the Storm Chasers. You might see her in the camera wells quite often, and maybe on the front steps next to the gates where the players come in and out of. You know, closer to the end of games, whenever we win, walk-offs, she'll be out there taking pictures. And then we'll also have Sam Lutz, a photographer for the Kansas City Royals. A big emphasis this year from the Kansas City Royals on producing some unique and pretty spectacular content, if I might say so myself. If you have any interest in photography, maybe you are an amateur photographer yourself, or maybe you're looking to get into it, there's also some very good tips in this interview if you're looking to get your start or looking for certain equipment that you should be targeting to help your repertoire of cameras or lenses. It was a great, informative interview in that aspect as well.
Yeah, we definitely went over the basics and then pretty into it with a lot of details there at some points.
I'm not going to lie. I got lost in a few of the lingos. Wasn't sure what they were talking about for a short period.
I'm going to have to listen to it and write everything down just so I know, because I could use all of these tips as well.
Now, a quick break from a word from ourselves, about ourselves.
For ourselves.
The 2020 Atlas MedStaff Little Chasers membership is free this year. All you have to do is go online to omahastormchasers.com/tickets/Little Chasers, fill out the form, and you are good to go.
For all kids 10 and under, free tickets to all Sunday home games, giveaways to first 250 Little Chasers in June and July, access to the Centris Family Fun Zone on Sundays, and so much more.
Atlas MedStaff Little Chasers, sign your kid up for free. So without further ado, here is our interviews with Sam Lutz and Minda Haas Kuhlmann.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Minda, how about you?
That's spectacular. I'm physically at a ballpark, so even though it's December, that makes an okay day.
Perfect. So we just wanted to get some content producers for the Royals and the Storm Chasers and kind of go into what you guys do and what you guys see every day through the lens and through your own eyes, of course, as well.
Yeah, so Sam, we'll go ahead and start with you. What do you do on a day-to-day basis in the season and off-season?
Yeah, so in season, I am tasked with shooting the games, creating in-game content. So my official job title is content producer, real-time specialist. Basically, that's the in-game stuff. So when we have a big play, like a good defensive play, when we hit a home run, I will. A lot of times I'm shooting video in slow-mo on my camera, and I will turn that around into a shorter version of the play, just like a highlights version with like a speed ramp, and use that super cinematic slow motion to show the play. So that's a lot of what in season is for me, at least in game. And then when we're not in game or we're in the off season, I'm still creating content, but more narrative driven stuff. Like we were in the Dominican Republic a couple weeks ago with the couple of the minor league prospects. About 2 weeks-ish ago, we were in Dallas with Hunter Dozier, shooting some stuff with his family, doing stuff like that. I also shoot the marketing stuff for the team, along with my other content producer, Max Lehman, and our boss, Mandy Marks. So it's kind of a job that involves a lot. I started off as a photographer with MLB and then freelance with the Royals last year. So I still do photography as needed, but it's been a lot of video work this year.
Nice. So it sounds like you're into a lot of different stuff there. Minda, I know you pretty much photograph all of our Storm Chasers games here.
Mostly all, whenever I can get away with it, but I do have just a normal day job as well as a property manager. Couldn't be more different. There's a lot fewer like cockroaches and like broken toilets involved in baseball games. So, I pretty much only miss games when I'm like at my day job and it's like a weekday day game.
It's good to know that we are up to code. No cockroaches on our end. Right. So yeah, obviously I see you down there a lot. With whether I'm helping with the promo team or whatnot on the third base camera well. But yeah, you've been here as long as I've been here. How long have you been doing this for the Storm Chasers?
So for 5 years, from 2007 through 11, I actually worked for the team doing on-field promotions between innings. And then after that point, I decided to make use of the shiny new journalism degree I had just gotten. So I came back in 2012 with a press pass to do photography and have been doing that ever since. So a total of 13 seasons with the Omaha Storm Chasers, formerly Omaha Royals, and it feels like a lot shorter than that, honestly.
So how did you get started? Did you go to school for this? You take classes? Either one of you, Sam or Minda. I guess we'll start with Sam. How did you kind of get into photography, and how did it develop into a job with the Royals?
I actually started photography as a hobby, really, after I graduated college in 2015. I didn't really major in it. Fall of 2015, a girl that I was friends with on the track team had a friend who had a friend that worked for MLB. And this friend told me I should apply for it. I should apply for this position that opened up in Kansas City. They needed a photographer. And I was like, I've never shot anything professionally before, but that sounds really awesome. So I applied and somehow I got it. So my first paid gig as a photographer was opening day 2016. And I fell in love with it after that. I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. So I worked for MLB for 2 seasons and then got on with the Royals.
Yeah, definitely. Minda, how did you get your start in photography?
Not formally either. I took like a third of a semester of photography in college that basically just covered like what the buttons on a general camera do. And there were just a couple of assignments with that, but it was really like a, 101. And I didn't actually get any sort of inkling that I had a passion for this or anything from that. But my brother Brad bought a camera at some point, and he and I were already going to all kinds of sporting events together anyway. UNO hockey games and in the winter, and then Omaha Royals at the time in the summer. And he would take his camera and we'd kind of take turns taking pictures just from our seats during the games. And then that kind of turned into I just took the camera out of his hands at the start of the game and never gave it back. And then I started going to stuff that he wasn't at with his camera. So eventually he kind of saw the writing on the wall and just gave it to me.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, it's just kind of that slow play of, I am just gradually stealing this, this camera from you. And so then on my days off from the on-field promotions job, I would just come and sit in the seats and just take pictures. And I kind of just learned as I went from that, as far as just what are settings and what do you do with them and all of that. I never really learned that in a classroom, but I don't know, turned out okay, I guess.
So, Minda, what are you looking for each day when you go to the ballpark? Is there something that you just generally shoot each time you're there? Is there something you come in looking for?
Yeah, do you come in with a shot sheet, or do you just have it all up in your head?
It's in my head pretty much. At the start of the season, I really want to focus on making sure I get something of everybody. And I try and do a mix of close-ups and, just like a general, here's so-and-so in his batting stance, or, here's so-and-so throwing a pitch. So as long as I get like a good mix of those basic shots of everybody to build a library off of. And then after that, I just kind of, if we get a new player or prospect comes up or whatever, I kind of get up in their face a lot. It's great. It's, I don't introduce myself either. I just kind of walk up and stick the camera in their face like, welcome. But otherwise, it's just kind of like following the game and kind of looking too, since I'm right next to the dugout, kind of watching for little moments that kind of give a look into players' personalities. Since Storm Chasers games aren't televised, then that's the opportunity to show some of the incredibly, just charismatic people that come through these dugouts every year.
Well, don't tell Scott that we don't televise it. He has to produce a show upstairs.
It's streamed every game, okay?
MILB.TV. If you don't know about it, subscribe.
Sam, what about yourself? Obviously, you do more video. Is there a shot sheet you go into every day? Does it depend on like what you guys are doing marketing wise, or is it a lot of in the moment sort of thing?
Well, and I'd like to point out too that like the Royals, I feel like the past couple of years, especially this past one, was very content focused. I feel like the Royals really invested a lot of time and money into curating some content, whether it's through some of these photos or these slow-mos or some of their fun graphics that they have on their marketing team that they produce. But maybe, Sam, if you want to speak to that a little bit, and then, again, what you're kind of looking for day to day.
Absolutely. Yes. So this season, we did have a huge emphasis on content creation, I guess. We started this new video department, which I'm a part of now. So there was 3 new hires. That was Mandy and Max. And we wanted to elevate our game on social media, and bring Royals fans something new and different that really hasn't been seen in Major League Baseball. The NBA and NFL are kind of leading the charge in terms of pushing the industry forward with video and photography. So I think, credit to Aaron Sledens, our senior director of digital and social, for seeing that trend and kind of heading the charge to get this department started. So yeah, we just, we were given the keys to the car and we kind of drove wherever we thought we should go. We have a meeting before each homestand starts where, we'll have all the games listed out and we'll say, okay, event X is happening on this game, so we're going to cover it this way. Jorge Soler is coming up on breaking the home run record, so this is how we want to cover the record-breaking swing if it happens. I think that's a pretty good example of how kind of this whole social media team at our peak was Jorge Soler's record-breaking home run. We had a plan. It happened, and we executed the plan almost to perfection, in my opinion. And, the coverage came out really good, but I think that's because we had stuff written down on a shot sheet. We had, where Max was going to shoot from, where I was going to shoot from.
I feel like there's a community in Kansas City of like great photographers and a little bit of a lineage there, but between Jason, yourself, and then there was one before all of you, and he retired, I think, last year.
Chris Felicities?
John Sleazer?
Sleazer. That's the one.
Worked for the Kansas City Star. I always tell people John Sleazer is like my Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Then you were in great hands. He's amazing.
Being able to, as a rookie that had never been paid to do photography before, being able to be next to John was career changing. I couldn't have asked for between him and Jason, better mentors and people to learn from. So I really owe them a lot.
Sam, I guess, do you enjoy taking a certain type of video or a certain type of picture? Your favorite part of doing video for the Royals and photography and that sort of thing?
I think my overall favorite part of the whole job is that I get to work for a baseball team, my baseball team that I grew up in Kansas City. So I get to work my little league team was called the Royals. So
mine too.
Yeah. So I get to now work for the team that I went to games as a kid. But I love shooting the game action stuff and really capturing the emotion. But I also like shooting away from the game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in Dallas shooting with Hunter Dozier, that was so fun because he's just a regular person. I feel like if we went to college together, we would have just been friends, and I like showing people that these larger than life guys they're just, they could be your neighbor and they're normal people. So I love shooting stuff like that.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Between Sam and Minda here, who are some of your favorite players that you worked with? Maybe here in Omaha, Minda, who are some of your favorites? Other than Nick Heath, which we'll get to in a little bit, what he did this year. But, who are some of your favorite captures, some of your favorite players that you've been able to catch some of their moments and some who you might have conversed with and gotten to know a little bit?
I am old, so I covers just a wide range of I got to meet Mike Moustakas before he ever, made it to the majors, and Sal Perez when he rehabbed here in 2012, got to photograph him, and then again in his he didn't come back to Werner Park until the exhibition game before 2018, and I don't know what year anything is.
Yeah, it all mixed together. I have no idea.
Yeah. So, but things like that where it's these are people that then went on to be a part of the World Series championship that still doesn't feel real because I grew up in a time when the Royals were so bad that
Same.
seemed like it wasn't going to happen. So we all know. So the idea that people that were part of the big heroes of the World Series were just kids that came up through here, it still kind of feels fake to me that that's something I get to do in any time, because of just watching all the different teams come through. If you watch the Major League postseason any given year, you can go, oh yeah, I saw that guy come through the Pacific Coast League, and that guy and that guy and that guy. So I don't know, it's all cool. And also every single person that suited up for the Chasers in 2019 was the best people I've ever met in my life. So they all make it easy.
Honestly, it was a good group this year.
Yeah, the best I've ever worked around. So the win column didn't happen the way that you'd want it to, but I still think that this was my favorite team ever.
But Sam, what about you? Is there any other players other than Hunter or any players that you've gotten to know, especially this year with some of the call-ups?
Yeah, there's really never been a bad one. Something that Dayton talks about a lot is, and this is organization-wide, they want to develop good people, and they do that. All the guys, they are good guys. They're all so willing to work with us, and I know sometimes they probably don't want to if they're cold at the plate. I imagine it's not very fun to film something silly for social media, but they do it, and they really are easy to work with. So Hunter Dozier is amazing. That guy, our department should probably pay him because I feel like we use him so much. Brett Phillips was born for the spotlight, and
Yes.
So anytime we get to film with him, I love doing that. He's one of those guys that you can tell just gets it.
He was actually in one of our TikToks in mid-season. Probably my favorite TikTok, but it didn't really take off like I wanted it to. But he got a few of his friends and roommate Bubba and Deanie to join in. But if we didn't have Brett over there, we wouldn't have got anybody else to buy in and help us with the video. So we try to identify players like that who are good in the clubhouse and make friends pretty easily. And we're like, hey, if we get this guy and some of these things, he'll probably recruit and get some other guys. So we had to. Brett Phillips was perfect for that.
Yeah, the camera loves Brett Phillips. I like Lorenzo Cain a lot. Another good dude. When he returned to Kansas City with the Brewers, and he had his first at bat back home, I was kind of crouched down behind him when he was in the batter's box taking a photo with Crown Vision in the background. And he turned around and saw me, and he goes, "Oh, hey man, how you been?" I was like, "Oh my god, this guy, this is the National League, one of the best center fielders in baseball, is about to take an at bat. He's in the on-deck circle. Ask me, how you been? What a good guy."
Was there any particular call-up last year that was especially cool or especially awesome for you to see?
Bubba's call-up was really cool because that meant a lot to Kansas City because he's one of us. and to see him come out, get the hometown heroes welcome was really cool. And I know that there's been a lot of ups and downs for him throughout his career. So to see a guy that's pretty, I think he's like a year younger than me. So a guy that's my age get to this point in his career where it's like, finally he got it, that was really cool. And to see, every at-bat Bubba took was like a standing ovation at Kauffman. So that was pretty fun.
When I met you in person for the first time, it was actually here at the exhibition game this past year. Minda, were you there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you were there. Brad
true.
Williams was there, Sam. But I met you there. Like, what were some of your favorite memories of that exhibition game? It was the first exhibition game we've had here in Omaha in a real long time. But it was really cool for us to be able to host that and to see both teams kind of come together and have an inter-squad game essentially, but here in Omaha. What were some of your favorite stories or memories from that?
It was cool. I love seeing different stadiums. So it was fun to take in a game from a new vantage point and to see what I guess I went to a AA game when I was a little kid, but that's the first minor league baseball game I really can remember going to. And it was fun to see like all your on-field promotions and the games you guys play. I think that's what's so fun and unique about minor league baseball. Is how crazy you guys can get, which is awesome.
Hashtag weirdest team in baseball.
I love that. And, that was our social media manager's first like real game. I guess he did spring training, but that was the first game that we got to cover together. So that was pretty cool. My dad was actually there just as a fan. And since it's, that stadium is smaller and easier to get around than Kauffman. So I could, after the game was over, he came and said hi. So that was pretty cool. It was just it was a neat experience. And it was really cold that night. I remember being really, really cold, being like, I hope it's warmer on opening day. And it wasn't.
Gotta love the Midwest weather.
Like 2 full months of cold games at the start of the season.
Oh yeah, Minda, how do you deal with the cold up here for like at least 2 months of the season?
So wool socks and fur-lined boots, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to feel my feet by the end of a game. And then just like the hot hands thing, lots and lots of those. I used to go without those, and then one day like a scout saw me freezing and handed me a pair of hot hands. I was like, why have I not done this? How stupid am I? So ever since then I carry extras too.
Well, and I'm sure Bark in the Parks on Wednesdays, those just warm your heart.
Absolutely. Just warmed from the inside out, seeing all the good, very good dogs around the ballpark. It is the best. I can't remember a single minute of game action from any Wednesday game, but I can tell you, like, I saw 4 collies. It's like, oh, wow.
Would you say that's your favorite type of photo, your favorite type of thing to capture are the dog photos?
With respect to the wonderful and hardworking and incredibly talented players I've covered through the years, yeah, it's the dogs.
I'm sure Stamont would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'd be mistaken if we didn't ask you about Nick Heath and his time here with the Storm Chasers.
Something Sam can look forward to here.
I'm very excited for Nick Heath. I'm rooting for that guy real hard.
Well, you'll love him. It'll be worth the wait whenever his time comes. I knew a couple days ahead of time that he was coming. I had a little bird whisper into my ear that his promotion was coming, and I was psyched. He had been in the game briefly in the late innings of that exhibition game. But by then it was dark out and I was cold, and I didn't get any like great photos of him. So really my first opportunity to cover him was when he got called up this season. But looking forward to him as like a player, I was like, oh my gosh, this will be so fun watching him steal all these bases. Had no idea what was in store for like Nick Heath, the person. Just, we talked about Brett Phillips earlier, but I think Nick's the same way in that like his approach to his baseball career seems to be like, how many people can I meet, and how much can I like get to know every single person and make every single person's day brighter? And which is weird. It's weird that I'm talking in such glowing terms about a person who literally stole my camera out of my hands and kept it.
Talk about it.
So,
how was that experience? First of all, how did he approach you? Did you just come up and just take it from you? Did you ask politely?
He like stole it and still has it?
I hope not.
He gave it back. But so it has happened a couple of times through the years that players want to like try it out, just to like, maybe an hour before a game, something like not when they're playing, but just if it's their day off or something, they'll like grab, take the camera and marvel at how heavy it is and whatnot, and then like give it back. Maybe take a few pictures and give it back. Like, and their level of success ranged from a major league pitcher who was here on a rehab assignment, and I will protect his name because he couldn't even get the camera to take a picture, even though it was on and I had all the settings set up, but he picked and there's nothing.
Off-air topic. I need to know.
So, but then, and then Anthony Tsereteli, who played for Omaha for a while, he's a filmmaker in his, the non-baseball part of his life. So he did well at photos, but, that was just like, he'd spent 5 minutes with the camera and gave it back. So that's what I was expecting. And Nick Heath was on the injured list with a hand injury, and so he was bored. And he came up to me before a game and asked to, see my camera. So I thought that I would be getting it back before the game started. But then I showed him a few basics, and then he just went and like walked around the dugout, started taking pictures around the dugout, and then he sat on the top dugout step like as the game was starting and just kept shooting and kept shooting and kept shooting. And all the while I'm like nervous, like, that was during Adalberto Mondesi was rehabbing here, and I was like, I need to shoot this guy, but while I've still got him in good light, like what's going to happen? And then like Mondesi was rounding second and running toward third, and his helmet flew off and his hair was everywhere because he's got the braids. And it was like, it was killing me that my camera was not in my hands, because I'm like, this person that's never taken photos before has a camera in his hands. But, I guess that moment is just lost. And it turns out Nick Heath took a perfect frame.
It was gorgeous. It was
like golden light slanting across the field, and Monty's hair in perfect focus, and the helmet flying up. It's like, that's the photo that I imagine I would have taken. I had nothing to worry about. Like, he did a great job. And so all the while, as uncomfortable as it was, like I'm sitting here, like, I don't know what to do with my hands, but like, Nick did a great job, and the one thing he did say later was that he is impressed because my camera is really, really heavy, and how do I hold it that whole time? And I don't know, it's superhuman strength. I just want to put that out there.
So what is your weapon of choice? What is your camera? What model is it? What kind of features does it have? Kind of tell the people what you guys use if they're trying to get into some of this stuff. And I'd be intrigued to hear what you guys use. Maybe we can lobby to get one of those cameras someday for us.
So I've got several cameras. I'll go through mine, and then I'll go through what we use, what our department uses. So my main camera is a 1DX Mark II, a Canon 1DX Mark II. I personally think this is the best all-around photo and video camera that
we're getting head nod confirmations from Minda, so it must be true.
For sports, yeah, that's the gold standard for sure.
Yeah, it's Cadillac of cameras, in my opinion. And so it does the super high shutter speed, like for photos. I think it does 14 frames per second JPEG, 12 frames per second RAW, which is awesome for sports because you can get that full sequence of the home run or the jump throw or whatever. And then on the video side, it does HD at 120 frames per second. So that like super crispy looking cinematic slow motion. It does that. It also does 4K at 60 frames per second. So that's still high frame rate, but it's not as slow as the 120. So, it looks great because it's in 4K, which is another advantage. And then it shoots in the motion JPEG codec when it's in 4K. So you have a ton of information. It doesn't shoot raw video, but you have a ton of information in those video files. So you can shoot log and then color grade it, make it look all pretty for post-production stuff. So that's what I used primarily the whole season for game action. And then I have a big 300 prime. You probably see them on TV when you watch sports. It's like one of those big white lenses that just looks massive. So I have one of those, and a 70-200, 24-70, 50 prime. It's a 1.4, so you can stop down and get that extra light and that super shallow depth of field. And then a 16-35, and they're all f2.8. So, and then I also have a 5D Mark IV and a 5D Mark III, which are two other bodies. So that's kind of my personal arsenal.
Minda, what do you use?
So my husband is also a photographer. Shout out Mark Kuhlmann. And so he and I pool our resources. And so I actually like kind of switch out cameras and lenses and things just based on like what, if he's shooting the same day, we kind of got to pick and choose who gets what camera and what lenses. But so I have a variety, but my general, like just day to day, so a thing about baseball is it's actually really, really hard on cameras physically. All the dirt blowing around gets into all the extremely intricate gears and things.
That's always windy here.
So I don't actually use like our finest gear from the Kuhlmann household. We kind of save that for, quite frankly, things that pay more. I have.
Amen.
5D Mark IV is my like day to day, and then a 70 to 200 lens. So that and then in daytime I can add an extender that doubles the zoom of that. So it's.
And that's what we need. We need an extender.
Yeah, it kind of
go for a new camera first, please.
But you mentioned the Sony stuff, and I'm really intrigued by those. We have had some Sonys come and go from our household arsenal, and it's a lot of fun. And those are stealthy because they're mirrorless. They don't make the clack 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 sound that that the traditional cameras do. And I feel like I'm intrigued by the idea of like having that stealth that maybe I could catch some more like candid and unguarded moments in the dugout, because if somebody doesn't hear the clacking, they assume I'm not shooting. And with the Sony, that is just one small feature, I guess, that I don't know. I think mirrorless might be the future, and Sony is making plays in that no other company is at the moment. So it's cool stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. Mirrorless, it's awesome. The technology that goes into those Sonys is just so impressive, what they can fit into that small package.
If either of you have any advice to photographers or any advice for that sort of thing, what would you guys suggest?
Yeah, I mean, my advice to young photographers or people that are just getting into it, shoot everything you can. You just got to keep developing your eye and your editing skills and just your workflow, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get. I think Minda and I are lucky that we work in baseball and we get so many cracks at it with all the games and all the at-bats and all the innings. It's kind of an everyday thing. So, we're kind of constantly developing that skill. But, I mean, how I started learning was just taking pictures of sunsets and my dog and walking around the city and just shooting things that I thought were interesting. There's a lot of good YouTube tutorials. Yeah, there's a ton of information out there. It's really easy to access, so use that. That would be my best advice.
Minda?
Same. I mean, definitely just shoot as much as you can. And also, like, if you just heard the rundown of all the super fancy gear that Sam's running around with, like, don't be intimidated if that's not the setup that you have. Because really, for anything, the best shot you're going to get is, with the camera that's in your hand. So your best bet is to get to know your camera so well that it's an extension of yourself. So that, if you're outside, maybe you're practicing at, a relative's t-ball game or something. It doesn't matter. Like, not everybody starts out in the majors. That's really abnormal. So like, if if there's like a little league game or something, like, and suddenly a cloud comes over, you need to know like what to do with your settings so that you still get the best shot possible. And the only way to really do that is just keep shooting and look at what happens when you make changes in your settings. Look at the back of the camera, look again after you're finished shooting, and then, check out tutorials or even classes to know like why do these changes happen to my images when I make this change or this change to the settings. You can have the world's finest camera and not get any results if you're not fully present and like knowing, like, if the camera's not an extension of you, then you're gonna miss the shots.
Don't let your maybe your starter kit gear limit you, because I bet if you gave that starter kit to John Sleezer, he's still going to make great photos. Yeah, the best camera you have is the one you have.
Yeah.
I think Minda said it really well.
Very true. Thanks guys for joining us. Asbury, unless you have anything else.
No, I thought this was really cool. It was very, very insightful, and just kind of picking your guys' brains on how you do some of these things and getting to do a really cool profession, even if it's part-time, to come out here and be in a great atmosphere and capture some of these moments that I know myself as a fan really enjoy seeing, whether it's with the Royals or with the Storm Chasers. Minda's really, even though she's a third party, she's really an extension for us, and we really appreciate what she does for us. And as a fan, I really appreciate what Sam's helped develop with the Royals. Just being a longtime Royals fan, and it's really cool to see the content that you guys have made and how you're kind of a industry leader in that sense with Major League Baseball.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
As a fan myself, just like looking at your videos, like it's I don't even have anything like technical or cool or insightful to say. I just really like them. Like the slow-mo videos are so cool.
Thank you. I enjoy the weirdest team in baseball. I love that. So
Good. We'll try to keep it going.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you guys.
And now a word from our sponsors, also known as ourselves.
Self-sponsored. New this year, the Chasers Blue Book. The most flexible ticket plan ever. 40 undated infield box ticket vouchers and 10 parking passes. Use them whenever or however you want.
You want to bring 30 friends to one game? Feel free. You want to come to 40 games yourself? That's also an option.
Payment plans are available and ticket upgrades are available day of game.
Chasers Blue Book. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed that wonderful chat with those photographers.
It's kind of a tough discussion to talk about audibly when we're talking mostly about visual things.
It sure is. If there's anything we talked about that you guys might want to see, we'll try and include that with our social posts, just so you guys can get a bit of a reference there.
Or maybe even on our YouTube channel, we'll throw in some of their pictures that they might have taken. But feel free to follow them again. That's Sam Lutz at Sam Shazam on Twitter and Sam Shazam _ on Instagram. And Minda Haas Kuhlmann is at Minda33 on Twitter and Minda.Haas. That's 2 A's in Haas on Instagram.
Make sure to follow us on all of our social feeds for some content. At OMA Storm Chasers on Twitter, Omaha Storm Chasers on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for all the youths, where we are currently blowing it up.
Huge numbers on the latest post, guys. So many followers.
You're going to want to tune in.
So don't forget to give us 5 stars on every platform that you're listening to us on. If you don't want to give us 5 stars, just don't leave a review. It's fine.
We won't. I mean, we'll take it personally if you leave less than 5 stars, so don't do that.
Be very disheartened.
All right, say bye, Asbury.
Okay, bye.
We'll see you next time on Between Two Berms.